Hey everyone, it's about that time for a brand new iPad Pro model. Whether we need one or not, there's almost certainly one on the way. So today's video is all about what I think would make the perfect iPad Pro in terms of hardware and software, as well as a look at some of the leaks and rumors we've seen so far. And who knows, maybe Apple will see this video and make some of these changes for the new iPad Pro. But first, let's talk about today's sponsor, Morning Brew. Morning Brew is a free daily newsletter that helps keep you informed on all things tech, business, and finance in a truly interesting and informative way. Hit the link in the video description to subscribe to Morning Brew today. Okay, so first up, let's address the rumors about the new iPad Pro. Some of the things we've heard so far seem kind of fake and unlikely, and some things seem like they're entirely possible with this new iPad model. So one of the big early rumors about the new iPad Pro is that it would come with a glass back, but this was cancelled due to durability concerns. So instead, it'll keep the aluminum body, but the Apple logo will get larger and have a glass cover, and beneath it, likely wireless charging and MagSafe support. I think it would be pretty interesting to have wireless charging on the iPad Pro, and also having MagSafe, whether it's the MacBook style MagSafe or the iPad style MagSafe, where you can have accessories that snap on and also just charge it wirelessly, could be pretty interesting, and it very well could happen. We're also expecting mini LED display technology across the whole lineup, so both the 11-inch and 12.9-inch would have the exact same displays, and that would be a wonderful thing to have. And unfortunately, we might be getting a notch on the new iPad Pro. We've seen a few articles about it, it very well could happen at this point, but I truly hope it doesn't. The iPad Pro has this beautiful symmetrical design where you can use it no matter the orientation, vertical, horizontal, upside down, it doesn't matter. The iPad always looks symmetrical and proper. And we can probably expect without a doubt a brand new processor inside, whether it's the M1 Pro or more likely the M2, we're definitely going to be getting a new Apple Silicon processor inside this machine. But those are all just rumors. They might happen, they might not happen. At this point, who knows? But let's talk about the perfect world scenario for the new iPad Pro. The perfect iPad Pro with hardware and software. What would it look like? Okay, so first up, the hardware and design of this iPad is basically perfect. They haven't changed it since 2018, and I feel like they don't really have to. But if we're talking about the perfect iPad, there are a few things I would change with this design. So first up, let's get some thinner bezels. Seeing the Tab S8 Ultra with those super thin bezels all around, it was kind of a revelation that the iPad Pro bezels, while not super thick, they could definitely be a little bit thinner. And while we're talking about bezels, let's center that front-facing camera in landscape mode for the iPad. It just makes so much more sense for FaceTime calls or just recording videos. It looks much more natural. This is the move. I definitely do want to keep Face ID on the iPad because it is quite reliable and just kind of makes sense when you're opening up the iPad, it just automatically logs you in. But definitely I do want to have the option of having the fingerprint scanner power button like on the iPad Air on the iPad Pro. Maybe you're drawing or handwriting notes on the iPad while it's lying flat, or you're watching videos in bed. Sometimes in those scenarios, unlocking the iPad with Face ID just doesn't work properly. So having a second way to unlock the iPad with biometric security would be a great option here because it works super well on the iPad Air. Okay, let's talk about iPad accessories. So the Apple Pencil, besides maybe having an optional rubber tip option besides the hard plastic, is pretty much a great stylus for the iPad. But also, I think they should just include it in the box with no extra cost. The whole Galaxy Tab S8 series comes with the pen in the box, and those tablets are all basically the exact same price as the iPad Pro, but they include the pen. Well, the Apple Pencil has an additional over $100 cost on top of the iPad Pro price tag. And for such an essential accessory for the iPad, it should really just come with the device. But hey, it's Apple. And them including a free Apple Pencil in the box is the least likely thing on this list to happen ever, really. Okay, Magic Keyboard. The Magic Keyboard really transformed the iPad Pro and the way I use it. I feel like there's a few small changes I would make to make the perfect Magic Keyboard accessory. First off, this is a simple one. Let's see some function keys on the Magic Keyboard. Just having things like brightness, play and pause, volume, and other iPad-specific controls would really just make the Magic Keyboard more functional and just a bit better of an experience. And I feel like the Magic Keyboard is kind of a rigid feeling accessory. I wish you could tilt the iPad a bit further back on the keyboard itself, and I also wish there was a way to keep the iPad attached to the case while folding it completely flat, kind of like the Smart Keyboard. Like when you're drawing and writing, you have to remove the iPad from the keyboard itself and lay it on top of the keyboard case. I wish there was a way to keep it fully attached so it doesn't have to be removed every single time. That would be the dream. And maybe this is where MagSafe comes in, but it'd be really cool to have a way to keep the iPad attached to the keyboard case and flip it vertically, kind of like the Pro Display. Sometimes you want to use the iPad vertically, but you still want to type and use the trackpad. Being able to easily rotate it just like that from horizontal to vertical, that would be pretty cool. So that is what I would change with the iPad in terms of hardware and the accessories. But almost more importantly, let's talk about software. So over the last few years, iPadOS has gotten better and better. There's been some great changes, some really important evolution, but I still feel like it could be an even better operating system. So first up, let's talk about multitasking. So I wish there was a way to have 3 apps open in split screen view. So maybe it's 3 vertical windows side by side, or the way the Galaxy Tab series does it. I just want to have 3 apps open all at once where I can drag and drop different things. Just using 3 apps at once is something you need sometimes. I also want to have floating windows. And we kind of have a peek of what floating windows could be like with Apple's Quick Note. The Quick Note feature that was introduced last year is kind of like a floating window, but just for the Notes app. Imagine this for Safari, Apple Music, pretty much any app that you can drag around the screen as a floating window would be amazing. And kind of like Samsung's tablets, it'd be good to see a DeX-style mode on the iPad, like a macOS Lite, that maybe you can trigger by hitting a button or a software toggle. Having a desktop-style interface we can put files on the desktop, have just floating windows you can drag and drop everywhere, kind of just like macOS, would be pretty interesting, I think, and useful for those more complex projects and tasks where you want to have a bunch of stuff open. It'd be nice to have a desktop-style iPad mode. Now, that being said, I do like how iPadOS works and functions, and I wouldn't just want to have like a full version of macOS on the iPad. That's not really what I'm saying. What I am saying is just having options on how the interface looks depending on what you're doing. For simple tablet tasks, the interface right now is perfect. And for more complicated kind of pro tasks, having a desktop-style interface would be a nice thing to have. While we're talking about desktop things, you knew this was coming. I want to have Final Cut Pro on the iPad, but a more optimized version of the app for the iPad, because taking just Final Cut and slapping on the iPad would really not play out so well. Final Cut is a complicated application, and just throwing it onto the iPad with really no care whatsoever would not be ideal. I mean, LumaFusion and iMovie and some of the other video editing apps are good, but Final Cut has so many features, and truly, it is an incredible application. And just imagine being able to take full advantage of the processor inside the iPad and being able to edit full-on videos in Final Cut in such a thin and portable machine. That would be a wonderful thing. So those are my thoughts on making the perfect iPad Pro for 2022 or whenever the next iPad drops. And while I would like to see and try out a new iPad, to be honest, they don't have to drop an iPad this year at all. Last year's iPad is still amazing. And even the 2018 iPad Pro is still incredible. And I think Apple knows they dropped an absolute banger in 2018 with that original redesigned iPad, because since then, the last couple iPads have kind of been the same. The iPad looks great, it feels great to use, it has some awesome accessories, great software. The iPad is still kind of the king of the tablet market. And to this day, there are really no strong competitors to the iPad Pro besides Samsung's Galaxy Tab 8 series, which is actually pretty good. But the other main competitors are mainly from Apple. With the iPad Air, iPad Mini, regular iPads, some of the iPads in the refurbished section, and even the new MacBook Pro, which is super powerful and also very thin and portable, those are all competitors to the iPad that Apple makes themselves. But of course, all of this is just talk. Only time will tell what Apple does next with the new iPad Pro. But I have a feeling it's gonna be a big one. And when the new iPad's released, you're definitely gonna hear about it from me, as well as from today's sponsor, Morning Brew. Morning Brew is a free daily newsletter delivered to you Monday through Sunday, and this newsletter helps keep you informed on all things tech, business, and finance in under 5 minutes, in an informative, relevant, and actually quite interesting way. I usually start most mornings reading Morning Brew alongside a cup of coffee, and it helps keep me in the know on important topics in my industry. This week, I saw the first photo from the James Webb Telescope, learned about the important changing landscape of real estate and home ownership, and the US suspending all imports of avocados from Mexico the day before the Super Bowl. Wild stuff. And that's just a few of the many topics I've learned about this week so far from Morning Brew. It's completely free and takes under 15 seconds to subscribe. Hit the link in the video description to subscribe to Morning Brew today. Thanks to Morning Brew for sponsoring this video. And that's it. So let me know in the comments down below what you think would make the perfect iPad Pro for 2022 or whenever it drops. Also, like the video if you liked it, subscribe, and thank you for watching.